All right, there's 3 things I want you to know about your pelvic floor. First, it starts when you're in your natural alignment. So when you're in your natural alignment, where your bones are holding you, your body can just rest, your pelvis is straight up and down. When you're out of your natural alignment and you do kind of good posture, military posture, watch what happens to my hips. They tip. If your pelvic tilts, then your pelvic floor is not in its alignment either. Same thing happens when your body rounds. So when you're out of alignment, either rounding or military posture, kind of over-correcting, then your pelvic floor is not in its aligned position to work at its strongest either. So find your alignment to put your pelvic floor in a position where it can get stronger, okay? That's the first thing to do. The second thing is to remember that the pelvic floor is part of the core. It's the floor of the core. If we start training it separately and never incorporate it into our core contractions, or we don't do that often enough, then the pelvic floor doesn't know that it's supposed to contract when you sneeze or jump. And that's where we start to run into problems with the pelvic floor. You start leaking because the core is contracting and the pelvic floor doesn't know that it's part of the core anymore. It's kind of forgotten that. And so you want to engage the core from the bottom of your pelvis. So if you pull up on your pelvic floor, you'll likely feel your core muscles pulling in. You might not feel it right away because you might have lost that muscle memory between your pelvic floor, your core, and your brain. And so this just takes practice, just like anything else, like learning a musical instrument or learning how to ride a bike. That's muscle memory. It takes about 2 weeks to build muscle memory. So consistent practice with full attention, with the intention of helping to reconnect that nerve pathway from your brain, your nervous system into the muscles of your core, including your pelvic floor. So alignment, dial up that core contraction from the bottom of the pelvis, feel this gentle pulling in and around of these core muscles. And what you'll notice about doing that is it's not hard. It doesn't add a lot of tension. Whereas if you suck in your stomach and try and tighten your stomach, you'll likely feel a little tension right in your diaphragm. Maybe your breath will shorten, and it feels like it's really hard to hold that. When you dial it up from your pelvic floor and you just feel this contraction, this natural support from your core muscles, you could keep that up. And that's the way the core and the pelvic floor, the whole core, is supposed to work. It's supposed to be there supporting you when you're moving your arms and legs. Sit-ups, planks, core exercises isolate those muscles and often don't include the pelvic floor. When we start isolating muscles, it's kind of like asking a symphony to practice separately and then show up on stage and perform perfectly. It's not going to work. It's not how we work. It's not how our body works. So if we don't isolate things, if we just practice using our core with our pelvic floor, get this muscle memory back, and then start incorporating it when you're climbing stairs, when you're lifting things, your pelvic floor is just going to work naturally as it's supposed to. When your core contracts, your pelvic floor will know it's supposed to contract. And that's the third point that I want you to know, that if we keep this mindset that you're supposed to lose, it's just normal to lose pelvic floor strength, and you're supposed to leak as you get older, and it's just part of getting older, then we're going to give into this idea that we're just getting older, when really it's just our use it to keep it body. We're not using it the way it's designed, so of course we're not going to keep it. So shift that mindset from, oh, I'm just getting older, it's just part of getting older and laughing at it, to, hey, you know what? I'm just going to start using my body the way it's designed and practicing that, and get rid of all of those ways to use my body that it's not designed to do, and just practice the way it's designed. Alignment, pull up your core from your pelvic floor, use your core while you're moving your arms and legs, and reestablish that strength of your pelvic floor. And then move on with confidence that you can regain the strength of your pelvic floor and the strength of your core all at the same time and age with more confidence.